I'm here today to speak a little about the attack on the feminine. We have been attacked from all angles, and some of this we have willingly chosen as well, because society has so programmed us into this way of thinking as women. And when you really start to take a step back and realize that everything you are, everything you believe, has been something that has been taught to you, you can start to unravel this and wonder how much of this is truly me, how much of this is societal, is familial, cultural. So yeah, once you start going down this rabbit hole, it's really, really difficult to discern what is actually yours. Many years ago, I had so many corsets and high heels that I love to wear. I actually have many high heels on fist still that I cannot bring myself to sell, even though I don't wear them because they're just so beautiful. So I could say I love corsets and I love high heels, but where did that come from? Where did that idea that this is so sexy come from? And I believe that it's sexy, but where did it come from? Certainly not from the comfort of it, because it's a great discomfort when you're standing there and your friend's got her foot on your back and she's pulling those strings, to tie that corset, and it looks beautiful. And you feel so sexy and delightful in those high heels, but your feet are paining. So where do these things come from? These are ones that I'm still working on myself, because I still find it very, very sexy, corsets and high heels, which I won't get rid of mine, as I said. So let's delve into the first one, our bodies, our beautiful feminine forms. We are so cut off from our bodies. We have so much conditioned into us that this body is shameful. A man can show his boobs. I can't show mine boobs. If I do, I feel shy. I feel ashamed, because that's what I've been conditioned. So we're taught that we need to be ashamed, or that there's something dirty or wicked or sinful about our bodies. But why? It's just a beautiful body created as a man's body has created. Why is our body shameful and sinful, and we feel that we have to cover it up? If something happens to us, we should feel guilty because it was our fault. And I recently watched the Sinead O'Connor documentary, and they spoke about these women in Ireland called the Magdalene girls. And these Magdalene girls were unmarried women who were raped by doctors or priests. And then they were committed by the patriarchy into these Magdalene laundries, they called them, or Magdalene asylums. And yeah, they were just kept away from society, like locked up, because of the sin they committed of being raped by men in authority. And this happened from the 18th century up until 2013. So look into that. Yeah. So this is really a strong example of how we are told that we are the ones that are shameful. We are the ones that there's something wrong with this body. It's sinful. If you think of the story of the femme fatale, why is she fatale? Just because she's being feminine and in her power and in her glory and in her sexiness. Why is it fatal? Why is it a bad thing? Other things we've been conditioned. We should be living fully. We should be living in the full expression of our body, of our feminineness, of our, is that a word, of our femaleness, of our glory, of our beauty, of our power, of our wisdom, of our juiciness. We should be embracing the full capacity of our female bodies, of our hormones, of our cycles, of our beauty, of our nature, of our capacity for care, for compassion, as well as our capacity for rage, for fury, for burning things to the ground, because that is a strength of the feminine. And when we can fully express ourselves in all of these variations of ourselves, it's where the compost comes from those ashes, from the fires. So when those things were raised to the ground, that is where the soil becomes fertile and the new crops are grown from the ashes of those fires. Our capacity as well for grief, to process that grief. We can wail, we can cry, we can feel that sacred grief pass through our bodies, process itself through our bodies and pass out again, to move in us, to move through us, to move out of us. And in so doing, to feel grace, to feel the touch of grace in your life. We are beautiful. We are like the ocean and her tides. We are like the seasons, winter with the trees bare of leaves, icy, icy cold winds, so cold that it calls for us to go and hide in caves like the bear. And then in the fullness of spring, the little buds coming out, the dewdrops sparkling in the sunshine, the little petals opening, new life, with hope, with promise, lushness, juiciness, dripping with nectar. This is nature, and this is us, because we are nature. Flowers in bloom, we are all of that. And then what about autumn? The beautiful rich colors of the reds and the oranges and the yellows, and that intense raging wind that can blow those leaves off the trees. That intense wind that blows everything away that does not serve us. This is how we function. This is what our bodies do. The beautiful female body. We are all of those things. We are nature. We are not separate from nature. But instead of allowing ourselves to tap into this glorious, the spectrum of everything that we are told to fit into these little boxes. That's what a female should be. And I'd like to touch on feminism now, because yes, I was a feminist. I was all up there shouting, equal everything. I can work as hard as a man. I did. I had burnout actually from that. And it's so interesting now looking at it from a different angle, because as soon as I saw a video many months ago on feminism being a PSYOP, my whole body acknowledged that this was true. And let's break that down and look at it. So yes, ways for the powers that were to get us to buy into a system is to push us to one very far side of that system, and that it's so bad, and then they'll say the solution is to be on this other very far side of the system. But when you look at it, it's actually just as bad, and the actual answer always lies somewhere in the middle. So for feminism, it was so much on this that we didn't have a chance to express ourselves in any other way. It was only that one way: homemaker, family, children. What if some of us had a different choice? You were looked down upon, the spinster, the unwed woman, again, shame. But then we were given this idea of feminism as, the solution to this. But this was, again, too far onto the one side of the spectrum, because feminism wants us to be mini men. We are not mini men. We are women. So we can hold that feminism sign and say, I want to be paid the same as a man for my job, which is legitimate. We should be. But when you take a step back and look at all the parts of it, you realize that feminism was another PSYOP, something that was purposefully seeded into society. It wasn't our original idea. It was the patriarchy. They came up with this idea. They wanted women in the workforce. They could double the taxes. They wanted women in the workforce so that they could split up that nucleus of the family, so children could go into childcare, and then the state was controlling children from little, controlling their little minds, turning them into little robots, which is what we have today. So feminism was really a Rockefeller-funded PSYOP, and you can look into that. You can go dig down some rabbit holes to find out more about that. It would have been better if we had come somewhere in the middle. Instead of trying to be mini men, stepping into our full power, but as women, keeping our feminineness intact. Not focusing on equality, because we're not equal, we're not the same. But focusing on balance, focusing on men's strength in their arena, but our strength in our arena, and how we can support each other and work with each other, but never try to be each other. And this for me is in essence what we should really be seeking, is the balance. They've turned us into mini men. We're going out there, we're wearing the power suits, we're working according to men's cycles, which is not our cycle. We are pushing down our intuition, our emotions. We're shutting off our feminine emotions and our skill sets, things that we bring to the table that men don't have. We're shutting these all off because we're trying to be that mini man. Ignoring our intuition, ignoring our tears, our sacred tears. tears are such a beautiful part of being feminine. And some, when we can be angry in that boardroom, the anger brings up the tears. So can there be a world where we can cry in the boardroom and go, well, that was my anger coming out, and so be it, you shitbag. So yes, it's sad as a former feminist to realize that we were like led into making this choice. It has not advanced us. It has not given us anything better. We have started taking birth control, which is making us sick. We are taking on too much stress, which is making us sick because we're working against our cycles once again. All of this stress and being mini men is affecting our nervous system. We are shooting so much cortisol into our bodies that it's affecting our nervous system. And the one key aspect of being a woman, of being able to function in your power, in your strength, is first of all, you have to feel safe. And if your nervous system is shot, you do not feel safe in your own body. And that's where it all starts, feeling safe in your body. So your nervous system is key, it is vital. And this feminism, pushing us into that working like a man, is actually affecting that basic female right of the calm nervous system and the feeling of safety. Women are trying to juggle being the mother and the career woman, doing it all, and you can't possibly do it all. You're one human being, you can't do it all. And so you're giving one thing to take another. You're going to the work to get your career, but you're giving up raising your child, spending time with your child. I myself have no children, and that was a choice I made. Again, I think, was this a choice I made, or was it something that was chosen for me by the societal programming? But I know ultimately from going into this question and doing some work with self-discovery that my life's mission that I've been put here on, I needed to be free. I needed to be a free spirit. I needed to be able to travel and move and go and be light and not have responsibilities. So I know in this lifetime, having no children was what was contracted for me. And I know in other lifetimes I've had many children. So I'm okay with that. But just those choices we've made, it's really good in that self-discovery to go down that rabbit hole and see what were those choices. And I worked in a corporate, I worked in a very stressful environment. I eventually started getting sick in that environment because it was going so against my feminine grain. And lucky for me, I came to the realization after keep on collapsing with ear infections that I was not listening, and I gave it all up. And another very beautiful thing that I discovered after that is working within our cycles. I worked in creative. I was a creative. And when you're forced to be creative, when you're not in the part of your cycle that is the creative part, it is actually a violation to your femininity. Creativity comes from that chakra where the womb is. So being forced to be creative is actually a violation of the womb space energetically. And this was beginning to make me ill. So knowing that feminism was created by the patriarchy, and knowing how it's actually led us further away from ourselves, further away from our bodies, our cycles, our intuition, our softness, and our strength as women. It's led us away. Everything female. We are actually better men than men are at the moment. We are being called into bring real feminism into the world now. And I wouldn't even use the word feminism. I would say, just think of another word. Everything against us. Nothing was there to support us, ever. And it's time for us to bring in a new movement, that one that's, I said, in the middle, to bring balance, not equality. And yes, I still do believe if you are doing the same job, of course you deserve to be paid the same. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as we are created, our hormones, our bodies, our way of being are very different. And we need to treat each of those with respect. And so balance is key. So let's start having respect for our female bodies, our cycles, our hormones, so important. Our beautiful breasts, our wombs, our yonis, our ovaries, our beautiful longings and desires, respecting and loving every part of us that makes us different to a man. Loving those parts that make us different. Seeing ourselves as a temple and just honoring everything about us. This beautiful temple that is sacred, that is holy, that is sacrosanct. And really getting into close relationship with our female bodies, with our hormones, with our changing moods, with our changing everything that flows, that cycle that flows every month. Really getting into close communion with it and starting to understand why we act the way that we do. Getting in close communion with every part of our soft, feminine bodies. Finding out how these parts of us affect us, how they support us, how they make us tick. And just really being in touch with them now. Not pushing them away, not trying to say, oh, you're an annoying, terrible part of me. I'll push you away. Let me push you down into the basement. No, say, come on up. Let's chat. What have you got to tell me? Because there's a lot there. There's wisdom in the human body, male or female. It's a great technology. So let's get in touch with it. So start communicating. I woke up this morning in the early hours with some more downloads coming down, and I was like, really? It's still dark outside? But I wrote some of these down because they are relevant to this video I was going to make today. And one of these is virtual signaling. Virtual signaling. And how things are made so seductive to us. And we're also told that the alternative, that if you choose the alternative, you're a bad person. So, for example, if you say, I don't believe in this feminism thing, then it's like, oh, you're a bad person and you don't support women. And you don't believe in supporting other women, which is not the case. There's not just a black and white in this. So virtual signaling is really very, very prevalent in this area. Oh, another thing is that we are taught in society to stay away from other women. Don't trust that woman. She's after your man. She's after your job. She's too beautiful. She's better looking than you. Don't trust her. Don't speak to her. So we are taught as women there can be only one, and we've got to compete and backstab. But that's not true. Actually, when women come together, that is where our power lies. So this is another thing that society has been keeping us away from each other. Make sure they don't get into groups, because they're powerful as one, but when they come together, they are super, super powerful. So don't let that happen. And in many times in history, it was actually against the law for women to gather. So that should give you a little clue as to something is going on here. Thank you for listening. Go and do some research on feminism and how the Rockefellers started it. And take a step back and just see how that makes you feel. How does that feel in your body? And start to inquire. Start to get curious about this life and this programming we have received. And if it is all really true or true for you. What is true for you?